You're doing something completely ordinary, washing a dish, waiting for a light to change, and then, with no warning at all, your brain reaches back 10 years, pulls out a single memory, and drops it right in front of you. Something you said, something you did, a moment so awkward you thought you'd buried it forever. Your whole body flinches. Maybe you screw your eyes shut. Maybe you actually say the word no out loud to no one. Why does a memory from a decade ago that no one else even remembers still have the power to physically hurt you? You probably think of it as a glitch, a cruel little malfunction. Your own mind turning against you, dredging up ancient humiliation for no reason at all. But the real answer is far stranger. The cringe is not a malfunction. It is one of the most sophisticated social survival tools you will ever own, doing its job with brutal precision. And the fact that it can still fire, at full strength, over something a decade old is a clue to just how important belonging once was to staying alive. Start with the strangest part, the pain, because that flinch is not a figure of speech. When that memory hits, something in your body genuinely recoils, the same way it would from a burn or a cut. And a neuroscientist named Naomi Eisenberger found out why. She put people inside a brain scanner and had them play a simple online ball-tossing game with two others. Then, partway through, the other two players stopped throwing the ball to them, just quietly left them out. It was trivial. It was strangers. It didn't matter at all. And yet, the moment people felt excluded, a specific region of the brain lit up, the exact same region that processes physical pain. Sit with that for a second. To your brain, being left out and being injured run through the same alarm system. Social pain is not a metaphor. It is real pain, wearing a different mask. So, when an old cringe memory makes you wince, you are not being dramatic. Your brain is running the humiliation through the same circuit it uses for a broken bone. But that only deepens the mystery. Why would the brain treat a social slip-up like a physical wound in the first place? Why do you even have an emotion this sharp? The answer starts with something you had to grow into. A developmental psychologist named Michael Lewis studied exactly when this feeling first appears in a human life. And it does not appear at birth. A newborn can feel joy, fear, anger, but it cannot feel embarrassment. To feel embarrassed, you need something a baby does not yet have. You need to be able to see yourself, from the outside, as a person other people are watching and judging. Lewis showed this with a simple, now famous test. He put a small dot of rouge on a toddler's nose and sat them in front of a mirror. Very young children just stare, unbothered. But somewhere around 18 months to 2 years, something clicks. The child sees the mark, reaches up to touch their own nose, and sometimes looks away, suddenly self-conscious. That is the moment a self is born. And only then, once a child understands that they are a me that others can see, do the self-conscious emotions arrive. Embarrassment, shame, pride. So think about what your cringe actually proves. It proves you have a self, a model, running in your head, of how you appear in the eyes of everyone else. Cringe is the sound that model makes when it thinks it looked bad. But even that isn't the whole story. Because embarrassment isn't just an accident of having a self. It was built for a purpose. That purpose was uncovered by a psychologist named Dashe Keltner, who spent years studying what actually happens to your face and body in the instant you're embarrassed. And he found it is not random flailing. It is a precise, universal sequence. Your gaze drops. You look away. A tight, awkward smile flickers across your face. Your head turns down and to the side. Maybe you touch your own face. It happens in the same order, in people all over the world, whether they've ever seen it in someone else or not. Why would evolution design a specific display just for feeling awkward? Because that display is a message, and the message is an apology. When you break a social rule, embarrassment broadcasts, instantly and involuntarily, that you know you broke it. It says, I understand the rules, I care what you think, I am not a threat, please don't cast me out. Keltner's research found something remarkable. People who show embarrassment after a blunder are actually trusted more, liked more, and seen as more generous than people who stay smooth and unbothered. The blush is not weakness, it is a signal of good character that you cannot fake. And that word, unfakeable, is the key to the strangest signal of all. Charles Darwin noticed it more than a century ago. He called blushing the most peculiar and the most human of all our expressions. No other animal does it, and here is what makes it so powerful. You cannot blush on command, and you cannot stop it once it starts. That is exactly why it works. A signal you could fake would be worthless. A signal you have zero control over is completely honest. Your reddening face is a guarantee, sent to everyone around you, that your regret is genuine. So now the shape of it is clear. Embarrassment is an ancient, honest, life-preserving system for keeping you inside the group. For a creature that could not survive alone, being liked was not a luxury. It was oxygen. But this still leaves the cruelest question of all. Why does it come back? Why does a moment from 10 years ago, long over, long forgiven, still ambush you at the kitchen sink? Here is what's happening. Your brain does not file all memories equally. A moment tagged with intense emotion and deep personal relevance, and social threat is both, gets burned in far deeper than an ordinary day. Your brain marks it with a flag that essentially says, "This was dangerous, do not let this happen again." And then, in idle moments, when your mind is wandering and unoccupied, it does something that feels like torture, but is actually maintenance. It pulls the flagged file back up and replays it. Not to punish you, to rehearse, to keep the lesson sharp. It is an error correction system, running a drill you never asked for. Your brain thinks it is protecting you. It is just very, very bad at knowing when the threat has passed. And that brings us to the final twist, the one that should actually set you free. A psychologist named Thomas Gilovich ran a study that has comforted people ever since. He had a student walk into a room full of other people while wearing an embarrassing t-shirt, then asked that student to guess how many people had noticed. The student was sure it was most of them. The reality? Barely anyone. Gilovich called it the spotlight effect. You feel like you're standing under a bright light on a stage with everyone watching your every move, but there is no spotlight. Everyone else is starring in their own show, worrying about their own blunders, barely registering yours. Now, apply that to the memory replaying in your head right now. You are convinced that the people who witnessed it remember it the way you do. Vividly, permanently, wincing at it in their own kitchens years later. They don't. They forgot it within minutes. Most of them forgot it the same day. The unbearable, high-definition footage that your brain keeps screening, at full volume, over and over, is playing in exactly one theater in the entire world. Yours. You are the only member of the audience who never left. Does knowing this make the cringe stop? Not completely. It's an old system, and it doesn't take orders from facts alone. But something does shift once you understand what it really is. The next time a memory reaches back a decade and makes you flinch at nothing, try to hear it differently. That flinch is not your mind attacking you. It is a guardian that has been trying to keep you safe and connected and loved since before you could even recognize your own face in a mirror. It cares too much about a moment that stopped mattering to everyone else long ago. It just never got the message that it can finally stand down. You're doing something completely ordinary, and out of nowhere your brain hands you a memory that makes your whole body flinch. Now, you know it isn't a glitch, and it isn't cruelty. It's the last person on Earth who still remembers, trying, in the only clumsy way it knows, to protect you. Thanks for watching. Share your most harmless, "why did I say that" moment in the comments. I promise you're not alone. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.